Hey friends, it's Dwight. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are having a great day. So I'm making this recording after I already did this pour that you're about to see. And I'm doing this introduction piece because I forgot to push the time lapse on the video, which is okay, but I like to kind of see and watch the colors pop. So I used basically today the same colors that I used in my last pour, minus the burgundy, I think, so I didn't have enough, or I had too much paint for the actual pour. I decided to use my colander today because the colander provides a kind of distinct and different pattern and composition than my strainer does. But everything else is the same. I'm gonna make another comment, which I do make at some point in this video as well, is that the last pour, the last video, if you watched it, the pearls were like perfect. They were just perfect. The matrix, everything was beautiful. And so I've been sort of thinking in the back of my mind, wondering about American Floetrol. Sometimes the Floetrol is really thick, and sometimes it's more like milky consistency. Or a little bit thicker, but it's not as thick at times. And the ones that have the least amount of gunk inside of it also tend to seem to work well. So I'm starting to wonder if the thinner Floetrol, American Floetrol, works really well in creating these pearls. Now, the other thing that's consistent with this pour that you're about to see, as well as the last pour, is I use DecoArt Americana brand paints, and they're gonna sell no matter what you do to them. So anyway, we're gonna get started here in just a moment. Another colorful painting. I love the outcome, so I can't wait for you to see it. But watch the process here, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the notes below, or you can email me at dwightpours@yahoo.com. Okay, guys, and before we start, please subscribe if this is your first time watching me or watching my channel. Okay, thank you. Okay, here we are. The colors are all mixed up for today. There's my 30 by 24 inch canvas. These are the colors I'm gonna be using. They're basically all the same colors except that I left out the burgundy, which I used in that one over there. So yeah, we're just gonna use, these are all DecoArt Americana brand paints, and they worked really well on the last pour. So we'll see how it goes this pour. So here we have True Blue. This is just a light blue, red, sort of like a burnt pumpkin. I think that was peach, turquoise, and then just white. And then there's my dump paint. So yeah, I'm gonna prep the corners and edges and check the consistencies, and we're gonna get started here in just a moment. Okay, here we are back at the canvas. It's prepped and ready to go. I just wanted to remind you that I forgot to do a time lapse for this pour, so I apologize in advance. So we're gonna be using the colander today, as you can see. And we're gonna start with white on the bottom. Now, what I'm typically doing in this pour today is I am using each of the colors in those 4-ounce cups and pouring them one after the other. I'm not separating the colors or dividing them. So the only one that I'm doing that with is the white. I'm putting that between some of the layers to provide a break, sort of like a clean break. I'm sorry for the background noise. That's what happens when you do this outside. So there's the orange on top of the red. And then as you can see, the red's gonna start coming out in a little bit. A little bit of white into the orange, and then this really cool peach color. It's actually one of my new favorite colors. Put some more white. I think I finished it up at that point. And then we're going to use that turquoise. So before I pick up the colander, I make sure that my black paint, which has been sitting for a chunk of time, is mixed and is at the right consistency, because sometimes it can slightly thicken up sitting still for a while. So I just want to make sure that it's the right consistency before we do this pour. And also it allows the paint to slowly spread on the canvas, which is also important. Okie doke, so we're going to pull this up, and we're going to get as much paint out of the colander as we can that's left. Just kind of shaking it out. And here we go. So if this is the first time you're watching any of my videos, I typically pour off center. And that is because I usually tilt towards the lower left corner on your screen here. And I want to have enough paint to make it to that corner, if that makes sense. So now this is sped up ever so slightly, which also means then I'm going very slow. So we're going to get it over that last edge. I'm just moving it around and stretching it out. And as you can see, the pearls are starting to form on the sides as well as on top of the canvas. And once I get it over, I bring it back, as you see, a little bit, just to kind of get the weight back. Sometimes the cells get a little distorted when they're pulled very long for a long time as I'm tilting over that last corner. So moving it back a little bit allows those pearls to kind of get back into their more round shape. You can start to see the color coming through. And we'll just have to wait for the actual wet results to see, since, you know, I forgot to do the time lapse. So I'm just checking the corners and edges, making sure the paint is covering them completely. Using my heat gun to pop any bubbles. Popping up and down my canvas, moving the paints a little bit also helps open those bubbles and allows the paint underneath to come through. Okay, I'm going to get up and do time lapse, which doesn't exist, and let's do a wet walkthrough. Okay, friends, here we are back at the initial wet results. I'm very happy. Another cool pour with some really cool pearls. Oh, that turquoise down here. Yeah. I'm having some fun with the Deco Art paints. Apparently they're really selling very nicely. The other thing that's going on too, I wonder if it's the Floetrol. I mentioned that earlier in another video that I think the Floetrol might have something to do with these pearls. I know Floetrol is what people call a cell activator, and I don't find any difference between using Floetrol versus American Floetrol versus Canadian Floetrol. I think they work about the same for me. So when I'm looking at the orientation, it's probably going to be something like this. But anyway, we'll see. I have to let it dry first. I wanted to come around to this side here just to show you some more of these pearls. That's a weird little pearl right there. I may have to go in and just trim that up a little bit. Yeah, you know, so I'll let it dry overnight. I will clean the edge over here, take out any dots that don't need to be there, and that's about it. Yeah, very nice colors. Okay, friends, we're gonna let it sit overnight and we'll take a look first thing in the morning. Good morning. So here we are back in my studio. And I want to show you just some of the up close again, how things turned out. The colors, there we go. The colors are really beautiful. Pearls. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. So like I mentioned in the last video, I'm going to take out this edge. This is kind of strange looking right here. I'm not quite sure about that. Maybe just round it. We'll see, not a whole lot. So I think we're done. So I have to figure out the orientation of how I want to hang this. Let me walk over here. Obviously this was one way. Over here. And the reason I like this way is because of the turquoise at the bottom here and then the blue coming in. That's really pretty turquoise with the orange and the blue and just the details. Anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll get in there in just a few moments here, fix things up, clean things up, and then we'll be done. Okay guys, we are completely done. You can see the negative space. I just cleaned up the edge. I didn't really do anything else. There were a few faded dots that I took care of, but other than that, we're pretty done. Just want to show you again up close the beautiful pearls. I didn't change that one right there. I just left everything the way it was. It was kind of floating nicely. So I'm going to do another pour with the exact same colors in a different order. I'm not quite sure yet. And I'm going to be using this size canvas, which is a 24 by 30. So I'm going to get everything cleaned up. We're done with this one, and we'll start a new one.